Good afternoon. I'm Kat, and I'm going to talk to you about docs, which I'm really passionate about and super nerdy about, actually. I work on the Woo team. I'm responsible for about 1,000 pages of documentation. That includes 300 products and WordPress core. I work WooCommerce core. Is it working? Okay. And I've been working with WordPress for 10 years, and I've been writing documentation for 10 years, and I have a tech communication certification. And like Gareth said, I used to be a journalist as well, so I can give you the bottom line in about 5 seconds. That can be a bad thing. And, and I've been a digital nomad for 2 years, so I don't have a home. I travel continuously. So today we're going to talk about the truth about docs, what makes a great doc, how to create great docs, testing your doc, and how to maintain them. And during the talk, I hope that you will all participate and ask me questions, and if not, I'm going to prompt you and ask you if you have any. Maybe even show you a couple of things that are not included in the presentation. So let's get honest about docs. They are not sexy at all. They're not super fun, although I think they are, but you know, I'm an exception. And they're not cute and cuddly. But what's also true is they can prevent support tickets. It can save time and money if you make an initial investment. It gives you more time to code, which means that you can sell more and make more products. Sell more, that means your company will grow. And it empowers users and also your team, because it serves as a training tool. So what makes a great doc? Well, think about where you want to put your docs. We have ours online. It's easy to update. Everyone can find them. It's open source. On WooCommerce.com, we have 2 types of docs. We have developer docs and we have user docs. And developer docs are for people who are just like you. So custom code, things that beginners probably are unfamiliar with. And then we have user docs, which are for everybody. And how to present a doc. So we think about the formatting, the presentation. And at WooCommerce.com, we have 2 templates, but not only, but these are the main ones. I'm going to show them to you right now. So the payment gateway doc follows this basic outline and format and order. It makes it very easy for people who use our site to know what to expect and where to find things. So it's a consistent experience. And then we also have the extension template, which is for everything else. So how to present content. And in this respect, I'm talking about style guide. The style guide is something that I envisioned before I was even hired at Woo. It shows you, it gives you guidelines, and it puts decisions in place on how to present your docs and what rules to follow. So I'll show you a bit of that right now. It covers voice and tone. Every brand has a voice, every brand has a tone, and these things are very different. The voice is constant and reflects an identity, and the tone changes according to your audience and what you're presenting and what your end goal is. And then we also have grammar, punctuation, style. We use the Oxford comma. I'm against that, but Automatic uses the Oxford comma, and we follow the same rules. So by having decisions in place, you save time. You don't have to bicker amongst coworkers about what to do, what to say, and how to use the language. It's crystal clear. And then we have a glossary, so how to hyphenate things, when to not hyphenate. Do we say cart? Do we say basket? So what to write? That's a complicated subject, isn't it? So it's clear, it's consistent, so it maintains a certain format and a certain voice. It's empathetic, which means it knows who your audience is, and it addresses the needs of that audience. It is helpful. It guides your user to be successful in setting up the product and maximizing its features and functionality. It's pithy, and what I mean by that is it's lean and clean. No stray words, no extra words. Make it as plain as possible. And it's specific. So there have been many times where I've had a doc come to me and it says, go to the settings and configure the settings. Now, that's not really helpful, is it? Now, if you said, go to WooCommerce, settings, checkout, and then the payment gateway, that would be a lot more specific, and it's a lot more helpful. And it's comprehensive, so it doesn't leave anything out. I'm going to show you a doc a bit later on, before and after. And plain language. Use the simplest words possible because it enables translation. You have a worldwide audience. And all of these things are outlined in the guide that I wrote called Writing Documentation. Oops. This clicker, man, it's going to be the end of me. What to show? Screenshots. At Woo, we use the highest quality screenshots while being also sensitive to people's bandwidth and also mobile. It is consistent. We use the same theme. We use the same app. We use Droplr, and we use the same color arrows. So everyone uses, by using the same thing, it creates, again, a consistent experience for the user. And context. Context, what I mean by that is if you tell somebody, okay, the box is underneath the update button, you're not going to just show them the box. You're going to show them where it is on the screen so they can see that it's on the right-hand side. It's current, so it reflects today's version, which is 3.2. It is complete but conservative. So again, consider who your audience is and be sensitive to the fact that not everybody has high speed and people may be viewing you on different devices. And an alternative to that is, I wanted to mention, is you can host your images on Jetpack. Oh, this clicker, man. Okay, how to create a great doc. Before we go on, does anyone have any questions so far about the style guide or anything? Yes?
How do you ensure that it's always adhered to?
That's a good question. And the answer is, I don't think that you can, especially if you have a big team. So for instance, I'm in charge of documentation. I'm the docs wrangler. But everybody at Automatic and everybody at WooCommerce can edit docs. So, and we encourage this. We want everybody to feel trusted and to contribute, and everybody has different expertise, and we want that expertise, and it's a lot more important to get that expertise and to get that knowledge onto the site instead of like worrying and nitpicking about where the comma is. Now, if we go back, if I happen to see it, then I'll go ahead and correct it. There's no way that I can look over 1,000 pages every day. Everything is a constant state of flux. We have version releases all the time, and we just do the best that we can, I think is the answer to that. We did think about putting in version control, but again, I don't think that's really sustainable for the amount of documentation that we have. If we had a team of docs writers or a team of docs editors, that might work. But that's not the model that we have. We source a lot from our devs, and we source a lot also from our support team, because everyone just has an amazing amount of knowledge in certain areas, and we want that, and we want to give that to our users right away. So that's a good question. Anyone else? Yes?
I mean, grid documentation is great. Do you have any thoughts or comments on like video documentation or screen sharing documentation?
Yes, actually, we have a dedicated video. Ryan, who's on site with us during WooConf, he does our documentation videos. So he will script something, he will go through and walk people through visually, because we understand that not everybody learns the same way. But Ryan also is one person. So when there's an update, he and I are really busy trying to see like what UX changes have gone through, and we need to redo everything and redo the scripts, and I mean, it's a lot of work. So I'm not against screencasts. I think everybody, like I said, everybody learns a different way. So some people like the voice and the walkthrough, and they like the visual, and they like how everything, they can match it on the screen. And other people prefer like a more slower pace, I guess, if you want to say it like that, and they appreciate the written documentation. So if you have the chance to create both, that's ideal, right? Yes?
I think if you have both as well, especially when it's involving video, if people are on slower internet connections or non-broadband connections, maybe the text is a more viable option for people that can't stream maybe a five-minute video or so.
Yeah, and I think we have captioning as well, and in different languages as well. So that's a whole nother area, isn't it? So I think that takes a lot of resources. So does that answer your question? Okay. Anyone else? Yes? For the screenshots, we're using Droppler. Yeah. And we use the blue arrows, typically. And we use Storefront as the theme. So, yeah. Anyone else? No? Okay, so we'll go on. So how to create a great doc? Oh, wow. So one thing that I do before I even start writing is I start to organize thoughts in my head about what I'd like to achieve and what I'd like to share with the user. So in my mind, I actually strategize what's the best way to do that. And then I make an outline and I draft it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the whole point. And then I add images. I preview it, and then I proofread it. And it's not finished, actually. These are some resources at the bottom that I've read and highly recommend as guidance. And if you don't want to write docs, which I know a lot of devs don't, you should hire someone, because it's worth it in the long term. And you can usually find someone who'd be willing to help you out. And I recommend people who either have English or journalism as their major. And they don't have to be tech writers. I mean, that might actually be better, because if they can use their product, they're putting themselves in the place of many of your users. So they're replicating that experience for you. So test your doc. That's what I'm about to talk about. So this is the process that I use. I usually get a draft, hopefully, from the dev who created the product in its raw state. It can be either on our site, or it can be in a Google Doc, or even like in a text editor. I'm not picky about that. I blind test the product. I don't know anything about it. It's the same position as your user. They don't know anything about it. And I just go ahead and start using it. And then I use the doc and see if I can set it up. And if I can't, I revise it. And then I test it again. And then I revise it again. And a doc is a living thing, so it just keeps on being revised, right? So Where do we get feedback for that? We get it from our support team, and it can be our support happiness engineers, or I can get into the queue and work tickets as well. And devs do that too. They do this once a year. Sometimes what I do is I will sort by the product, and I will see what people are filing the most tickets about, and then address that. We also get user feedback directly, either through tickets or through chat. Someone tells us they think something is unclear, or they think that something should be added or taken away, and we listen to that. So our users are our allies. They have a lot of valuable feedback for us, and we listen to all of it. And then we also have release tracking, and what I mean by that is I'm going to show it to you now. We have an internal blog where a change log is posted, and we can see what's been updated. And that's not the only place we can get that information. We also have a Slack channel that updates us every time a version is released. And then we have a docs channel for whoever would like to post feedback. It could be someone from our team. It could be someone on the WordPress.com side who heard something. It could be also someone who heard feedback at a WordCamp and they want to share it. And they can post whatever they like, and we listen to it and we address it as well. And we also use data. And what I mean by that is we track what we're selling the most of, how much money we're making, and then how many tickets are being filed on those products. And then we weigh it 50-50, and then we get a top 10 list, or a top 25 list, or a top 100 list. And then we update those docs according to that list. And everybody contributes. It's not only me. We have experts. We have champions who know a lot about that product, and I work with them to update the doc, or they can do it themselves as well. And that's it. Did anyone have any questions about anything that I've presented? Want to see more of the style guide? Yes?
Do you just then actually keep the documents now in an instance of WordPress?
Everything's in WordPress, yeah.
Okay, so just like internally, like on the
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes?
As far as the style guide, I like that you got the grammar style.
Mm-hmm.
Structurally, for the document, what is your style?
Let me show you, actually. So do you remember those templates that I showed you earlier? So we start with those templates, and then I have other things that I recommend. So formatting. We usually alphabetize lists. It makes it easier to find things. We use categories. We use arrows, and then we also have different box styles for different messages. And then other things like capitalization, I mean, nitpicky things, but everything follows a certain format, and it just makes it easier for people to use, I think. Okay, yeah, the headings are here too. So for the top, it's H1, and then the next one is H2, and then the ones under that are H3, and the H2 and H3 headings are all anchor links. So if we wanted to guide a user to a certain part of the documentation, we can just copy that link and put them right to it. We don't have to tell them to scroll down. They can just visit right there.
It's not a good job for SEO. Do you worry about that?
We have someone who, yeah, on my team that does our SEO for us. But I also wanted to tell you that when I think about writing a doc, I think about what search terms a user will use, and I make sure and include them, and it makes it a lot easier for someone to find something. So that's part of the strategize that I mentioned earlier. I think about how a user is going to find us, what questions they're going to have, how we can answer them the best. So, yeah. Yes?
You sort of addressed this earlier, but is there any system in place for trying to track what docs might be affected if there is an update? So you know this certain thing, the admin interface has been updated, and so we'll need to go edit all these docs that aren't relevant.
Okay, so I'll use WooCommerce Core as an example, because that's I guess, the easiest thing that I can think of. So when we have a core update in the beta release, I will go ahead and review all the changes that are coming. And it's very manual, actually. And then I have to go through all the docs, all the core docs, and see which ones are affected. And then I will make a list, and then I will check with the dev, it's usually Mike Jolly, and ask him, is this all of them? And he sometimes doesn't know, because I know our documentation better than he does. And so I also consult Ryan, who does our video, because sometimes he catches things as well, because he's got to do the same updates that I do. But yeah, I just go through all the change log one by one, and I think about everything that's going to be affected, and then everything needs to be changed out.
The other thing I wanted to ask was, have you ever explored using GIFs as?
Yes, actually, we have used GIFs in some.
And the feedback was positive, or?
I think it's mixed. I think some people like them, and some people find them annoying. So, yeah. Anyone else? Yes? Uh-huh. They don't have to, but these guidelines are for them too. They're for actually anyone to use, if you'd like to follow them. It used to be that third-party developers who were still on WooCommerce.com and before the marketplace split off, I used to review their documentation for them and help them with it. And I no longer do that because they're on their own now. And this is why I provided this guide. And I'm more than willing to, give trainings or review their documentation if they ask for it, but this is not a normal part of my everyday job anymore. Because we have so many pages of our own. And I'm one person, so. Anyone else? Yes?
If I am a new user to WooCommerce and I'm looking through the docs and I see something that maybe is incorrect, or maybe I find that maybe I thought something would be helpful, how would I help out with that suggestion?
You would want to help out personally, or?
No, just like, hey, it'd be really nice if this extra sentence was added in here because I stumbled over that, or
okay.
I mean, we run into that a lot in a lot of documentation.
Yeah, a lot of people just go ahead and file a ticket or open a chat and tell one of our happiness engineers, and then they fix it. Or if they don't know the answer, then they'll pass it to me and I'll fix it. But yeah.
I was just curious with like a new user who maybe isn't familiar with all of the channels that are available.
Right.
To them, what they should do.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. I think support is maybe a good.
I think support is always the go-to. I think. Okay. Yeah. We used to have a docs feedback form, but we closed that because it was being spammed a lot. It used to be really easy. At the end of the doc, you could just add anything, and just anything was added. And it was hundreds of tickets a day with no valuable feedback or actionable feedback on it. So that's why we had to close it. So, yes? Okay. We have a lot of funnels, and that's something that's handled by my team, the marketing team, and Kevin, who does our SEO, he handles our funnels as well. And so something that we do every month is we do a docs impact report. So we will track what were the most profitable docs. So for instance, if someone visited a doc and then bought something afterwards, how many people bought something afterwards? How many people signed up on WooCommerce.com to be a new user? How many people visited this doc? Where did they come from? We have Google Analytics, and I think, what else do we have?
We use Google Analytics, and then we use automatic internal tools to track.
Yeah, we have internal tracks.
Yeah, GA, and then we use an internal tool for tracks. But it's very impressive the amount of traffic that lands on WooCommerce.com.
Don't we get half of our traffic comes through docs. So it's a huge opportunity. Yeah. Yes? That's a good question too. It really depends. So for instance, we did away with a few things with the 3.2 release, and we decided to go ahead and leave some things in place for the 3.1. So the shortcodes is actually what I'm talking about. We kept the old shortcodes page for 3.1 in case people haven't updated to 3.2. But in general, we encourage people to update to the latest version. If we keep on supporting, the former versions, we're going to have so many pages. And it becomes very confusing, I think, for users. What version do I have? Which one am I supposed to have? What do I look at? But we understand that another example I can think of is product vendors. We did a major update on product vendors, and we left the 1.0 docs in place because we knew that not everybody was going to update to 2.0. And it is quite a significant change. So we left that in place too. But not all are kept. I sometimes leave them in draft. I don't know why. Maybe I'm sentimental or something. It sounds silly, but yeah, if it's not usable and it's really old, I just go ahead and delete it. Yeah. Anyone else? Gareth?
This may be kind of a silly question, but
No. Go ahead.
Don't be so sure. If I'm a developer who's going to be writing my own documentation, with no outside help, maybe I've looked at your style guide. Would you recommend I do that during the process that I'm developing a plugin or after?
I think after.
Okay.
Yeah, after the product is done. Just write up whatever you have and then try to make something out of that. I don't think it's essential to do anything perfect from the beginning.
Okay.
That'd be silly. I'm not perfect from the beginning either. So I'm just going to show you a quick before and after of a doc that was revised. So this was the original doc that was given to me. The one thing that really stands out is you can see there's a huge block of text at the beginning. I think that can be really intimidating to someone who's a new user. And then under the installation, there are no steps. And under under configuration, it just says to start, enter your Ship Cloud API key. Okay, well, where am I entering it? It's not very specific. And again, there's no steps or anything. And the screenshots are also not high quality, so they're a bit blurry. And I just want to say that I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm really grateful for any draft that comes through, honestly. And then let me show you the after now. Okay, so the installation is numbered. The initial paragraph has been pared down to three lines. It is also complete. In the previous doc, it didn't say that you needed a Ship Cloud account. So I show people how to sign up with Ship Cloud. And then I walk them through step by step. I tell them where to get their API key, how to select it, copy it, and now where to put it, because we're now going to set up configuration. And that's also a step-by-step process as well. And at the end, they can get in touch with us if they have a question. So can you see the difference? And which one would you like to follow? Just saying. And then I think that's all I have at this moment, unless someone else. Yes?
Do you, you mentioned that you have the caption for the video is translated. Is the documentation translated? And if so, how do you handle the translation?
The documentation is not translated. Most people, when they translate it, they just put it into Google Translate or something like that. Mm-hmm. That'd be a lot of documentation in a lot of languages. Did you have a question?
Yes. What do you think about long lists, like more than 10 points? Is it like, is it difficult for users to pursue that, or it's okay, for example, like 20 points or something like that, or it's better to make it as
It depends on what the list refers to, I think.
So you think it could be content actually?
If it's a list and each line is a couple of words, then I don't think that's a big deal. But there may be a more user-friendly way to present that, and because I don't have context and I'm not really sure.
I don't have
Okay.
either.
But if it was long sentences and a list, I think that just becomes incredibly cumbersome and intimidating to somebody. Then there's no order, right? So what are they looking for? And how do they find it again? Mm-hmm. Yes?
Back to your stock guide.
Yes?
Instructions or guides on the prospecting. When you're in your documentation, figuring out what should be
We don't have any guidelines on that, and I think it's mainly because we have 1,000 pages, and updating and keeping all those links fresh would be quite a task. But we do have an internal, at the end, there are some automatically linked docs that may be related, and that's worked out okay. I'm not saying it's perfect, but yeah. As a general rule, we don't, and especially to, I think, outside parties. Are you talking about outside parties or within the documentation? Within the documentation, I think that we try to give as many helpful hints as possible and as many helpful links as possible. But like I said, it becomes really hard to keep them all updated when there's a change. And not only that, but in our anchor links, I'll show you right now. Do you see that little link that comes up when I hover over it? These change according to if I add a section. And so if I linked this exactly and then this section changes, then people are going to the wrong location. So I think we just try to be careful. It's not perfect. Yeah. Yeah. I think we try, though. Anyone else have a question? No? Okay. Well, thanks very much.